welcome fellow barium inimists, fluoroscopists, and cross-table lateralists. I am your host,
Let's try that again.
What time is it?
fellow barium inimists, fluoroscopists, and cross-table lateralists.
It is just too difficult.
Everybody is here to party.
Greetings and welcome fellow barium inimists, fluoroscopists, and cross-table lateralists. I am your host, and I am not a radiology technician. Nope, I'm a technologist, and I've been in this field long enough to know that just because you came into my emergency room at 2 a.m. with a chronic back pain times 6 years does not mean the x-ray should be stabbed. This is the Radiologic Technologists podcast for Rad Techs by Rad Techs. Thanks for listening.
Had to add a little Burt Reynolds laugh in there at the end. It's one of my favorite laughs of all time. Welcome to the show. This is Ron Jones, your host, a licensed radiographer, computed tomographer, and all-around radiology nerd. I'm doing these morning shows for about 30 minutes, Monday through Friday, to help give back to the community, to give back to the technologists out there, and share my experiences and answer questions for anybody that's looking into the field of radiology so that the correct information can be given out. There's too many websites out there that give garbage information. And so here we are. I've been providing everything I can think of on my blog that you see behind me for the past 3 years. I believe I started around March of 2019 and continue to add anything and everything. One of the two best ways to find articles on here is to either use the search button, and you can see that people are looking up burnout and what shoes to wear and should I shield my patients and how do I be a travel agent or travel technologist. I've got interviews coming up, etc. The other way is to use the site map, because I started a project where that's my lovely wife right there. She's also an x-ray tech. But I started listing kind of tags on articles and listing articles by topic or by title, and got all the way through, stopped around 113. At some point I'll have to take a Saturday and get that caught up, because we're well over 200 articles. We've got videos, podcasts, we've got all kinds of things for the public here, for people that are students. There are study guides, there are anatomy guides, there are classroom quizzes. So I've got the blog, I've got the YouTube channel. I'm doing what I can to improve the available knowledge for both people that are students of radiology and people interested in finding out about radiology for a career. I appreciate your support. Hit the like button if you don't mind. Share this with other people. Today's topic is going to piggyback a little bit on what we've been talking about, and what's been big in the news lately is the recent lawsuit that was launched by one hospital against another, because one particular hospital was underpaying their employees. The employees weren't happy. One applied down the street, got the job, found out it paid a lot more, had a lot better benefits, and they went back and told their buddies at work, and 7 out of 11 IR techs, interventional radiology techs, decided to leave and go to the competitor. And the initial employer tried to sue, saying that was unfair, that they would be unable to continue operating their stroke accreditation services, which of course are built on the back of the technologists that took the time to get the extra training to do interventional radiology. But nonetheless, it was a little bit worrisome when it occurred, because a judge ordered a temporary injunction stopping these employees from leaving their underpaying job, and asked the two hospitals to work out an amicable solution, which of course isn't going to happen between two competitors. But fortunately, on Monday, when they went to court and everybody got to say their piece, the judge said they're free to go wherever they want to go. And so it's a wake up call for the hospitals out there. At least it should be. Of course, who knows if they'll pay attention, but it's a wake up call that you're not going to be able to underpay staff anymore and just tell them tough, deal with it. And you're not going to be able to force them to take more call than they want and tell them that they have mandatory call and all these different things. So we won that battle, and I wanted to point out today, because one of the two ways we've been talking about how to combat the poor work-life balance that we've been seeing in healthcare for decades is by what is called my favorite way of calling it is voting with your feet, which means leave. It means if you don't like the way it is, go somewhere else. Unfortunately, some people are not able to leave due to different circumstances. And another option for some employees is to unionize, or to get a union to come into the facility. And if enough employees sign the petition, you can start a union, and then you're protected by certain rights that you would not have at an at-will work contract type facility, which is what these IR techs have. Most of us are under this at-will contract, meaning the employer can fire you at any time for nothing, for no reason, just because they feel like it, and you can quit for no reason. And that's usually protected, as it was in this case on Monday. But it's interesting now. What I wanted to bring up today is there is a union, and it is among railroad workers. So it's not healthcare, but it is still very pertinent to what we've been talking about. And I linked to it in the comment section already on YouTube. There is a court that's refusing to allow railroad workers the right to strike, and they are a unionized force. It says it was in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. The court said a strike would cause the Fort Worth-based rail company, quote, substantial, immediate, and irreparable harm, end quote, and that the BNSF was likely to win the larger dispute with its unions. So what this means is, and you have to kind of understand how unions work, and we're not going to get into that now, but a lot of people say, well, just because the court says you can't strike, you should still strike anyway. But there's usually agreements in place with these unions if you're a union member and you pay union dues, an annual union dues of anywhere from $25 to a couple $100, whatever it is. There's usually verbiage in the contract that says as long as the union is representing me, I will not do certain things. And in this particular case, the union has an agreement with its members that you cannot strike if there is a court order that says you can't. And in fact, it says here's a statement from the union. Your union will continue to challenge the court and will seek to have the court order lifted. However, so long as the order remains in place, all union members must comply. We are a nation of laws and will abide by those laws, and we expect each and every one of our members to do the same. And you can find all this in the Reddit link that I provided to you. But here's a case where these employees are not happy. They have discussed striking for better work conditions, and a court order has said it's a substantial, immediate, and irreparable harm to the company, so you can't strike. And that could have easily been the case in our healthcare case in Wisconsin against the IR techs, because the company that was underpaying their employees was saying this is going to be detrimental to the community. We are not going to be able to provide 24/7 stroke care to the community if we lose this many employees. And that was the heartstrings that they were trying to pull on with both the general public and the court to stop employees from leaving, and it temporarily worked. And so this is a wake-up call that for too long we've been putting up with poor work environment in the healthcare industry, and even if we get unionized, there's chances that you still can't affect the change that you want to see. So again, the only recourse comes back to um, voting with your feet and going somewhere else. And by doing that, letting these employers know that you're not going to tolerate what they're giving you. Um, Let me see if I can find. Uh, I pinned an article. Well, I even did it in my Facebook group. So let's a quick shout out to our Facebook group. I want you to know it's there if you don't already. I established this Facebook group, and I understand a lot of people don't like Facebook. I don't like Facebook either. The purpose that it serves is a place for people to come together and talk. And if I find a good replacement, I'll be happy to implement a replacement. I've played with the idea of putting forums on my own blog and whatnot. It's just so time consuming and getting people to go there when they're already on Facebook. But this Facebook group has over 4,000 members on it, and I'll put a link to it in the comments section of the video in case you want to come join. You should join because, of course, there's no cost. It's a private membership, private club, whatever you want to call it. There's no cost to join. You do have to answer a few questions to make sure you're not a spam bot, or I don't want vendors in there hawking their garbage and whatever. But you can come here and ask questions and get answers from people already in the field that already know what's going on and get straight answers. But I had pinned a little blurb. Let's see if I can find it here. I had shared this in the radiology subreddit, but basically I said, we need to understand what's going on here and have a little bit more camaraderie when it comes to standing up for each other. The nurses have it. The nurses have a huge lobby in Washington, and they get a lot of things done. That's why you have the nurse practitioner career option, and that's why nurses can go out and start their own clinics and no longer work for doctors. And nurse anesthetists, because the anesthesiologist initially said, no way are we going to allow nurses to do what we do, and lo and behold, you now have nurse anesthetists. Of course, they have to work for an anesthesiologist, unlike the nurse practitioners who don't have to work for anybody else. But still, you have all these mid-level providers that we don't necessarily have in radiology. We lost the RPA program at Weber State because we didn't have enough people behind it. We do have the RRA, and if you want to know more about it, you can go to my website and look it up. But it's a mid-level provider, but very, very limited in what they can do. So I pinned this both on Reddit and in the group and said, we've got to start coming together. The stuff that's been going on for decades is garbage. And I gave a few quick tips on how we can start addressing all this. One of them being what I just said, and that's voting with your feet. The second was if your life circumstances make you feel that you no longer have other employment choices, you could go to your human resources department and express your concern about how you're being treated. Don't just go in there with complaints. Go in there with concerns, and if nothing else comes out of it, at least you can say that you went to human resources with your concerns, because that's the first thing. If something blows up on you, they'll say, well, why didn't you tell anybody? Well, I did. I went to HR and I told them. And I also say in that same paragraph, you should consider following up your in-person visit with an email. Just something that states, hey, thanks for taking the time to listen to me about my concerns on XYZ. That way you have a written record that you went there. And hopefully they reply to you and say, no problem, feel free to come anytime. But you should know, as I said in this write-up, human resources' main job is to protect the company, not the employee. They are litigators, mitigators. They are people that are there to make sure the company is protected. And so, but putting them on notice that you're concerned about something that's going on in the department is one of the first steps you can do. And then I also recommend considering writing yourself an email to yourself, just stating what's going on as a means for keeping records of what's happening. Because if things do blow up, you are going to need to be able to say, well, this happened and this happened and this happened. And if you send yourself an email in the moment or near to in the moment, you'll have that. You need to include the date, the time, the names of the people involved, describe exactly what happened as best you can. And Send it somewhere where you'll have a permanent record. Don't just store it on your work email, because as soon as you leave that company for whatever reason, good or bad, you'll no longer have access to that. So send a copy to your personal email so you'll have that. And it could come in very handy if you have to defend yourself in the future. Um, Also, don't forget that rad techs are qualified for a lot of other jobs. If you feel like your job is going downhill and there's nothing you can do about it and you don't have any options, one of the things you could do is consider all the other things we can go back to school for, like nuclear medicine or ultrasound or radiation therapy. And those types of things can give you the opportunity to go to another facility and make even more money in a higher modality. But outside of going back to school, if that's not your cup of tea, uh, radiology technologists are also highly qualified for things like application specialists, the people who train you how to use the equipment. Radiology equipment sales. Somebody has to go hospital to hospital showing what the new equipment does, and talking to people about the actual equipment as far as sales goes. And then there's the people that repair them, the biomed guys, the engineers that fix the equipment. They make really good money. That's usually training done at the vendor. You can be a college educator for radiology in a program. You can be a traveling tech. There's veterinary radiography, radiation safety officer. There's a lot of things that kind of fall under the umbrella of radiology experience that you can do so that you're not stuck in any one particular area. If you're burning out, I have a job article posted that talks about the 11 different causes of burnout, and each cause is accompanied by 2 ways to reverse it or to start to fix it. I'm actually talking about this at a conference in New Orleans in May, so I look forward to sharing this burnout situation, which I've been harping on for a couple years now. This article itself is a couple years old, but I'm looking forward to sharing it with a conference full of administrators in New Orleans, as a means of hoping to start getting ahead of this and reversing this trend. I also mentioned about abuse, not just from the employer, but from the patients. We can see abuse from patients. They can be inebriated or intoxicated. They can be psych patients. They can be prisoners that are brought in for exams, or just plain people with anger management issues. And I have a video about that I link to in the Facebook group that goes over how to address these types of patients and how to keep yourself safe. And then lastly, I just mentioned, make sure you don't get isolated. Maybe you work somewhere where you're not too happy and you don't feel like there's a lot of people you can talk to within your own department. There are certainly plenty of other resources of where you can go to talk to other like-minded people in our field. There are half a dozen Facebook groups. I've already talked about mine, and there's a couple others I believe I list here in the article that I also recommend. If you don't like Facebook, there's the Reddit radiology subreddit that has great moderators. It's been there for years. You can ask questions there. You can ask them anonymously to the monitor, and they'll post your question. Same thing we do in the Facebook group. And don't forget your national and state societies as well that you can be a part of. So just a reminder that we're often overlooked in the world of radiology. People don't know that we went to school for 2 years. People don't know that we did hundreds upon hundreds of clinical hours for free. Actually, we paid for them via tuition. They don't understand that we sat for the national board exams. All the spotlight always goes to doctors and nurses. It never gets filtered down to respiratory or radiology or physical therapy or a lot of the other modalities that keep the hospital running. So just don't forget how important you are, and stay strong and vote with your feet if you have to. So the rest of the segment, I wanted to just address those 2 issues, and then I like to try to go through the Facebook group and answer any questions that are on there that haven't been answered yet. I'm caught up on my emailed answered questions, so I don't have any in my email to go through. And let's see where we're at here. So we're already at 31 minutes, and that's what I'm going to try to do, is give 30 minutes Monday through Friday If you want to see the latest happenings over at the Facebook group, again, I posted it in the comments section. I always try to give a heads up when I'm going to go live. And here's something I shared that I was reading on Reddit last night about having a morning routine that makes your day start off in a positive manner. We have lots of memes posted for humor. And then you can see that when people post comments, let's see, how long, this was a new comment, how long did it take to get your test results for the California fluoroscopy test? 152 people have already seen that post. There's just not a lot of people that are still getting the California fluoroscopy license because it's no longer required. It's only required for a certain time frame if you got your license during a certain time frame. So I'll probably jump in and answer that one today on my own, because if I don't see answers, I'll go in and answer it. But there are typically multiple answers. This is a person, I'm a former personal trainer, and I want to become a rad tech. I'm a recently new father and soon to be husband. I'm trying to decide between rad tech and respiratory therapy. It got to 593 people so far, and there's 36 comments on this post. And so you can see the amount of people reaching out, giving their 2 cents is very valuable. And that's one of the things I'm proud about on this Facebook group is with 4,000 members, we're able to answer just about every question. And those that can't get answered, I go in and do some research and search out an answer for them. So I hope this has been helpful. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. There's a bell if you want to be notified when I do go live. I'll continue to monitor Aunt Minnie and the news and everything that affects the world of radiography to the best of my ability and share it with you on a regular basis. Thanks for stopping by and have a great hump day.
I just realized everybody is here to party.
Greetings and welcome, fellow barium intimates, fluoroscopists, and cross-table lateralists. I am your host, and I am not a radiology technician. Nope, I'm a technologist, and I've been in this field long enough to know that just because you came into my emergency room at 2 a.m. with a chronic back pain times 6 years does not mean the x-ray should be stabbed. This is the Radiologic Technologist podcast for Rad Tech by Rad Tech. Thanks for listening.
Hold on a second. Let me shut the mic off.